So I am a huge fan of the video game The Last of Us. And yes, of course, the show. I've played both games. And, I'm not going to say any spoilers, but, one of the most amazing things about that show is just the through line of how people deal with grief in different ways. And I was going on a walk this morning because I hear this exercise thing is good for you. I'm sad to report that it's true, it is. And I'm usually listening to podcasts, but this morning I was taking some time to just walk in silence and just do some thinking and praying and just reflecting. The past few weeks, my depression has been a lot worse, and depression is not new for me. That's something that clinically I've had to deal with for forever. But it's been ramped up the past couple weeks, and I was trying to investigate that. It just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks that I have not dealt with a lot of the grief that I still have when it comes to hearing loss. Now, again, just another reminder, I am not a medical professional. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just sharing my story on here in the hopes that it helps someone. So if you are really struggling with depression or dealing with grief and sadness, please talk to a professional. There's all kinds of resources out there. So just to state that, just sharing my story today. So I think when we first get hit with that zinger of, wow, we're dealing with severe hearing loss, we instantly jump into action mode. We're researching, we're Googling, we're trying to read up on all the different kinds of hearing aids, and we're kind of start to get lost in doctor's appointments and hearing tests and all this stuff. And we kind of are riding on that adrenaline. And that definitely happened to me when I lost my first ear. I was kind of riding on that adrenaline of we gotta figure this out. We gotta figure out whatever it is out there that I need to be researching and figuring it out. And it's not that I didn't have moments of profound sadness. I did. But a lot of it, I think a lot of my processing got lost in the undertow of this new adrenaline kick I was on and just trying to figure out what to do next to help my situation. And then it happened again when I found out I was going to need a cochlear implant for my first ear. There was that next wave of okay, I've got to research cochlear implants now. And what doctor do I go to? All the things, right? And so there was another wave of that tech and research that kind of totally drowned out what I was feeling underneath it all. And for those of us who have cochlear implants, right, that first window where we're first activated, there's that whole adrenaline of you gotta push, you gotta work, you gotta rehab, we're gonna make this thing work, I'm gonna do my exercises every day. And then there's that, it takes a lot of work. It takes work for us every day, but it takes a lot of work at the beginning to get adjusted. And again, that adrenaline and that work, again, is just another thing that pushes down that grief further. And then it happened to me again when I found out I was going to need a CI for my second ear. This was last summer, right after my surgery for my first ear for my implant. Within that week, I lost my second ear. The timing was crazy. And so I'm 9 months out from having my first cochlear implant. And I think what's happening is that adrenaline is fading. I am now kind of feeling like I'm drowning in this muted, quiet world where the hubbub and the excitement of all the research and the new tech is gone. And now I am just here and, oh, hi, there's my grief down there that I drowned in all of that, spark of stuff that was going on. People who are dealing with hearing loss, we already feel isolated enough. And so when we are going through things like this, it's super important to deal with it and work through it because we already feel kind of knocked down a few pegs by our situation. And so this stuff can really kind of build up and really kick your butt if you're not careful. And I know for me, I can't mess around with depression. I got to deal with it. I can't. Have to deal with it. I think a lot of people think of the word grief and they immediately associate it with losing a loved one or losing a person or someone dying, and that's certainly part of it. But that word, grief also extends to other kinds of loss. Losing our hearing. We're not only are we grieving over that, but we're also grieving over all the other losses that has caused, right? Some of you might have lost a job due to this, or lost a hobby, lost something that you really enjoyed. You might have lost a partner through all the stress of all of this stuff that you've had to walk through. And it's a loss of living life in a different way, right? And so all of these losses are just they're compounding and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking. And I think that's where I'm at. I think I've found all of my stacks, and I'm looking way down there and going, yeah, I've got to deal with some stuff. So listen, there are certainly many different ways to deal with grief, and there are certainly tons of resources out there. I mean, you can throw a stone and hit a book on grief on Amazon. For me, dealing with grief, I think what I figured out works best is I need to find moments of connection and then moments of expression. When my hearing loss first went bilateral, this is before my ears kind of flatlined. That was later. I have tons of videos about my story. You can go back and watch those. But when I first went bilateral, a couple months later, I actually lost my dad. It was a heck of a year. And one of the things I've learned about grieving my dad is the thing that I miss most about my dad is just talking to him. I miss that connection. Right? I miss the give and take of that connection. And being a musician that has dealt with hearing loss, I definitely miss that the most. I miss that connection for me, which is almost like on a spiritual level, that connection that I have through music. I mean, that was my thing. It's how I got fed emotionally and even spiritually. I really missed that connection. So yeah, it's challenging for me, right? With the music thing, do I have songs that I can listen to that help support me in times of grief? Yes. Is it the same as it was before? No. I'm not feeling those full-on goosebump chills of like hearing those chords move and pull me because I can't hear them anymore. So if your hearing loss has really severed your connection somewhere, if you feel like you're missing a discourse, you're not getting fed, you're not getting that nurturing back and forth connection with something, what else can you find that in? Now, I can't tell you what it is. It's your journey. Some people find that connection out in nature. Some people find it through, reading poetry. I mean, it could be different for everyone. And then the other way that I've really tried to figure out how to deal with grief is not only just kind of restoring that connection, but also finding a way to express that grief. Now, that's really challenging if you are a musician, because I bet your primary way of expressing is through your music. And, since you're hearing loss, at least I know for me, like that's different now. Yes, I could use rhythms and drums. I could still do that. I'm starting to tinker with that a little bit of my electronic music stuff, but I don't know. I really miss like the expression of harmonics and chords, and I miss that. So you might be in my shoes, and you have to find another creative outlet. I don't know. Maybe you want to join a boxing gym and you just want to go punch the crap out of a punching bag. That's certainly one way to express it. I'm trying new things in the audiovisual medium, and I'm trying this new lino cut printmaking thing. I'm trying different things, and yes, it's different, and yes, it's not the same, but I have to find some way to express it. So talk to us in the comments if this is the road you're walking. How are you dealing with it? How are you dealing with the grief and the profound loss that's associated with hearing loss? Let us know how it's going and what's working for you. Very last parting thought is I just want to remind you that one of the blessings that hearing loss gives us, dealing with something that is so profoundly terrible and heavy, is that it gives us a chance to need hope. I've gone through a lot in the last 5 years, and it's at sometimes you start to ask yourself, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I'm starting to realize I don't ask that. I ask that question a lot less because I'm starting to find these blessings. And I know that's a fluffy word people don't always like, but it's true. I'm finding these things that I'm like, wow, I never realized, until life gets that hard, I've been put in a spot where I need hope. For me personally, I'm put in a spot where I know that I need God. And for you, that might be something else spiritually that you look for. And that's just my personal journey. So I'm thankful at the end of the day that I have found these new blessings and getting to strive for hope and look for hope and joy is something that if my life was just easy breezy going, I'm not sure that I would have stumbled upon the beauty that's there in finding everything to be an absolute complete loss and mess. And the only thing that's left is to look up and try to find light and hope. And that's one of the huge positives that's come out of this whole experience for me. So don't lose hope. And I think that's a funny phrase, because you might be like, I haven't even found it yet. I can't lose something I don't even know where it is yet. So maybe instead of saying don't lose hope, I should just encourage you to look for it. You have an opportunity to look for it now. What is that going to look like for you? Don't get lost in this silent darkness. I hate to rip off Last of Us, but look for the light. It's there. You can find it.